Please welcome Luis Bueso.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this last session in this room, where we are going to talk about cyber resilience. So, in order to set the scene and the conversation, I think that is good that we start saying what do we understand cyber resilience means. So, a definition could be the ability to anticipate, withstand, recover from, and adapt to an adverse situation, like a cyber attack. Okay? So anticipate, withstand, recover, and adapt to. But at the end of the day is how we can keep our business running. That's all. But cyber resilience means two main concepts that we should have in mind. First one is prevention. Without prevention and protection is impossible, and we will see during the session. But even with prevention and protection, bad things may happen. This also, cyber resilience means also the ability to bounce back quickly in case we are under attack. Why cyber resilience is important? Let me use a prediction. By 2031, it is predicted that a business will fall victim of a cybersecurity incident every 2 seconds. This is a lot. And perhaps what we were, for example, this morning we were in a cyber resilience customer roundtable, and we were thinking that the question that we should do is not if I may be under attack. The question perhaps would be better when I may be under attack. It's about when, not about if. And cyber resilience is not a buzzword. It's holistic. It's across all companies. It's not only an IT issue. It's not only a pure cybersecurity technical issue. It implies many processes in the company. We need to combine security operation centers, where most probably the incident will be detected, detention. It needs to imply crisis management to correctly manage the chaos. That is one of the main issues, crisis management to handle. It implies business continuity, needs to be connected to the business continuity plans of the company, and of course, then to disaster recovery IT plans to recover systems to production. Let's see the evolution. What is the current state of ransomware attacks? Based on FBI reports, last year, the reported ransomware cases grew by 9%, despite all the efforts that we are doing in industry to manage this threat. But even worse, in the same report, we can see that total cost of cybercrime grew by 33% in one single year. This is another example that cyber resilience is not an IT issue, it's a business issue. And we know, we are aware in the newspaper of very good examples where we see business impacted, profit, P&Ls impacted, reputation impacted, and also share stocks. So now we have seen that ransomware attacks are growing and cost is growing. But what is the total cost? What is the amount of money that we are really talking about? If we see also the prediction for this year, for 2025, total cost of cybercrime is estimated in 10.5 trillion US trillions. When we see these amounts, okay, it happens to me, okay, we can perhaps lose the context, okay, what is this amount? And I can give you a comparison. If you see the GDP of France, Germany, and UK together, it's approximately 11 trillion. So this means clearly that Every company is at financial risk about ransomware and cybercrime. But let's analyze how this total cost is distributed. First of all, in this long tail of breach cost, we know that we have the regulatory cost implications. If we have data compromise, we are subject to penalties by regulators and also consequent legal lawsuit costs. Other one is lost business, lost customers. It is not only the pure downtime issue that is the most important one. During downtime, you lose revenues. It is also about the reputational issues, customers that you may lose and customers that you will not be able to attract. Additional costs around very specialized services that you need in these cases, detection, escalation, forensics, that are very expensive. And my recommendation is that you have them contracted in advance to be well prepared. For example, there are companies specialized to guide you in the negotiation process, in the how handle this kind of ransomware situations. If you have personal data or sensitive data involved, higher the cost. For example, if you have personal identifiable information, PIIs, you need to notify the individuals and then potential legal situation with the people affected. The longer the incident, the higher the cost. The average time to detect and breach and fix one data breach is around 241 days, average time. That we are talking about 8 months. Normally, it's 6 months average to detect, 2 months to fix. During this time, you are vulnerable, you are potentially exposed, and think about that it's only one data breach what we are talking about. And then the last one, and the most important one, if you see examples of latest ransomware attacks, everything around supply chain and third party is damaged. Okay? In many cases, all the ransomware was impacted the whole production line and third party space. In these cases, it's much more harder to detect and to fix because you depend on others, and collaboration across companies is key. So as a summary, we can say that the most important issue here is productivity. Downtime is devastating. Okay, we know production lines stop, customers not able to do orders, and even employees not able to work. Let's think about also on a parallel situation, that is, we think mainly that is the attackers is external threat. Also, you see 17.4 million average of insider threats. And we are not talking about accidental, because we know examples of incidents, accidental insiders. No, real malicious insiders. If you see malicious insiders, is still one of the top threats to cloud computing. As a summary, clear sentence, a lack of cyber resilience is extremely expensive. It is always much cheaper to invest in prevention and protection, and of course, in mechanisms to recover as quick as possible, than doing nothing and waiting for when, not if, when an incident may happen. So, in this situation, we have seen that the ransomware attacks are growing. We see the total cost of cybercrime is an unbelievable figure, but in parallel, we combine with another challenge, the complexity, the real complexity to protect our environments. And why is this? Because it will be much easier for us to focus only on the cyber attackers, to focus on the threat. But the reality, the way that companies and organizations, we are managing data nowadays, make it much more complex. The playing field for cybersecurity is really a challenge. And I'm going to give you examples. Data everywhere. Years ago, was much easier to protect data. Everything was in a single data center, backups locally, okay? So it was easier. Now, an example, you may have a service where the backend server is in your data center, the backup is in the cloud, and at the same time, you have real-time streams analytics from edge devices. So you need to protect the edge, data center, and the cloud at the same time, consistently. New workloads. Yes, what does it mean? We have software as a service, cloud-native applications, and now AI. Every time that we have a new workload coming, the workload, from cybersecurity perspective, comes with its own threats and vulnerabilities. For example, around AI and data, two examples is data poisoning around data, or in the prompt jailbreaks. And we need to manage that. Regulations. Regulation is like a coin with two sides. On one side, it is clear that regulations are helping us to invest in cybersecurity. But on the other side, regulations are becoming very difficult to manage. We have here in Europe, GDPR in the past, now the EU AI 2024, that is a risk approach to implement AI use cases, that is more mandatory in 2027. The AI Data Act, the EU Data Act, that is an evolution of GDPR, handling more kind of data. And two regulations that are very, especially here in Europa, that they have clear implications on cyber resilience. NIS2, the EU Cybersecurity Directive, and DORA, that affects mainly to financial institutions. And they both have clear cyber resilience mandatory elements. And on top of it, as a summary, an operational complexity. One thing that we have suffered a lot from the cybersecurity space is the big amount of tools. This means that every situation we have a tool to fix it, but it's very difficult that the tools talk each other. It's more difficult to have a holistic view across all the company about what is happening. So we saw that ransomware attacks are growing, the total cost is huge, and the scenario for cybersecurity to protect is becoming more complex. So what is our value proposition to help here? We are introducing, from SPE services perspective, our SPE Cyber Resilience Framework. What is this? It's a structured game plan to boost your resilience. It is based on industry standards and best practices. For example, zero trust, okay? The concept that you trust nothing, you verify everything. And also, we are building blueprints. That is some kind of a playbook where you will be prepared for any different kind of cyber incident scenarios. If we see how this cyber resilience framework is distributed, you will see that on the right part is more focused on response and recovery, and on the left part, more on preparation. But we cover all the elements needed for a end-to-end cyber resilience program. Detection in the Security Operations Center, and also to focus on early detection. As soon as we detect, the damage will be reduced. After the detection, we have also the protection of all the mechanisms, so this proactive hardening, and at the same time also security awareness trainings. Once the event is detected, crisis management. It's very important to activate crisis management in minutes, hours. The earlier that we activate crisis management will be very important to manage the chaos of these kind of situations. And also to manage the communication, who to talk with, to have an authority to decide what do we say, who to talk with. Reputational damage is directly connected to the way that you manage the crisis. And then, of course, as we told before, cyber resilience connected to the business continuity plans and disaster recovery plans of the company. One key element of this SPE cyber resilience framework is specific technologies for ransomware protection and ransomware after cyber incident recovery. This is where we are positioning SP Cyber Resilience Vault, and we will comment later, okay, with a clear example where we have implemented it, and the concept of immutable data storage. Other elements is governance, risk, and compliance. The executives of the company need to understand all the implications, all the policies, continue risk management to keep adapting to new threats, and compliance management to adapt to the regulations that are requiring cyber resilience, like NORA, DORA, and NIS2. And at last, very important, to keep working on making your architecture more resilient, to implement elements like network segmentation, to isolate infections from one areas to others, to implement zero trust architectures, role-based access control, and different techniques around your architecture. We know that this is a lot. We know that. It's end-to-end. But it's very important to have all these pieces working together. When you have all these pieces working together, you will be better prepared. You will reduce the probability. You will reduce the probability of being part of an incident. And in case that you are in an incident, also this will help to reduce the damage. As we know that this is a lot, and this is what we need to be considered, also we can share some recommendations. How do we approach to this SP Cyber Resilience framework? And let me share with you some recommendations. First of all, ensure compliance. Compliance is non-negotiable. And why this is important? Because by ensuring compliance in a cyber resilience program, in case that you suffer an attack, after the attack, this will heavily reduce potential penalties, reputational damage, and lawsuit costs. Also, as it is a lot, it's possible to work at two levels: strategic services, more on the governance, risk, and compliance program, around updating your policies, risk management, to keep updating your architecture to be more resilient. But in parallel, you can work on more tactical approaches. Clearly, one of them is modernizing your backups or modernizing your security operations center to ensure this early detection. There are now a lot of AI use cases where in the security operations center we can facilitate one of the main issues, that is the alert fatigue. Security analysts with thousands of alerts, how to differentiate well when an incident is coming. And things like this, so strategically. And very important, business continuity and disaster recovery. What we know is that in many companies, business continuity plans are mainly adapted for natural disasters or for a pandemic, as we had last year. But we need to really adapt business continuity plans and disaster recovery to cyber incidents. Okay? And this starts with the business impact analysis. It's very important in the business impact analysis to understand what happens if a server is down, what are the elements impacted, what are the critical services, the critical business processes, and to understand all these dependencies. Because then we need to be pragmatic, and when we are under an incident, we will need to really prioritize what the business continuity plan is estimating that the priority services to keep going. And then last but not least, performance and availability. And this is where we talk about mainly around backups. We know that legacy backup solutions, in many cases, are not the right approach for current situation. Yes, we can recover one virtual machine in hours, but what happens if you need to recover 1,000 virtual machines? Is consistent with the business continuity and the disaster recovery RPOs or maximum tolerance downtime specified by the business continuity plan? This is where we need to focus. We are setting up 4 journeys to work together. And I will summarize very quickly. The cybersecurity assurance and hygiene. This is where we are offering services where we provide security assessments, compliance checks, and security health reports to really test how strong are your defense against a potential cyber attack. Then we also have our cyber resilience readiness. assessment. That is a very good exercise that I recommend. That is, we set up a session across all your key stakeholders in the company, and we implement and we simulate one cyber attack scenario. And we play with this scenario, and we test your processes, we test your situation, and then we can really suggest improvements and a plan to improve your cyber resilience. Disaster recovery modernization, as I said before, we can help you to adapt your current disaster recovery plans to include cyber resilience and case of ransomware attacks. These modern disaster recovery plans need to be tied to cyber resilience. This is the main driver here. And last but not least, okay, so to work on your architecture. To work on the architecture, as we said before, to implement network segmentation, to really review all the firewalls, internal firewalls, to implement zero trust architecture that every device needs to authenticate, every system has less privilege needed, identity and access management, encryption when needed. Okay? This is a summary of what we can offer from SP Services perspective. Now let me introduce you to Stephen Bacon, Vice President, Cyber Resilience and Data Protection Solutions, and Adam Jansen, Director, Infrastructure Operations, Western Canada Lottery, that we will show you a real example. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Luis. Thank you. So as Luis mentioned, what we'd like to do now is spend a couple of minutes talking in a very real-world context. And for that, we have the pleasure of Adam from Western Canada Lottery Corporation. Adam, can you start by talking a little bit about Western Canada Lottery Corporation, your role, and so on?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first, thanks, Stephen, for having me here at Barcelona. It's a beautiful city, and I'm first time visiting, so it's been great. So yeah, Western Canada Lottery Corporation. So in Canada, there's 10 provinces and 3 territories, and we operate the IT infrastructure to support the sale of lottery in 3 of the 10 provinces and all 3 territories. The funds go back to, so we're a nonprofit organization, and the funds go back to each of the provincial organizations, and they do stuff a little bit different, but one example is in our middle province called Saskatchewan. The funds go back to promote culture and sport, one of them being, or one example being, promoting kids sport, so some kids are able to play sports. So yeah, that's what WCLC is and what we do.
Fantastic, thanks for that background. So in your context, why is cyber resilience an imperative? What's WCLC's strategy for cyber resilience?
Yeah, great question. I mean, Louis talked about a bunch of examples already, but for us, you know, downtime is lost revenue, but that isn't the most important. You know, you can be down for hours or days and lose that revenue. However, a lot of people think that the lottery is rigged or made up, or the outcomes are already predicted, which I can guarantee you is not true. But there's a lot of skepticism out there. So definitely, overall, more so than downtime and loss of revenue, is integrity. Integrity is key to the lottery. We want people to feel safe, that they know that they can spend their money, it's going to a good cause, but also empower, you know, dreams and hopes of somebody winning the big prize, right? So definitely, integrity is key on why we need to continue to improve our cyber resilience. And
as I think you mentioned, your end beneficiary is actually a non-profit organizations, and thus an existential consequence for you goes well beyond your borders.
Yeah.
To affect many lives out in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So Luis also spoke about how cyber resilience really permeates a number of dimensions. If we distill it down, cyber resilience really entails people, processes, and products all coming together. What has that meant for WCLC?
Yeah, good question. So I think for us, you know, we were given funding to improve cyber resilience over, you know, a number of years, and we get a little funding. Recently, there's been a number of attacks that hit home for our board members. So not our organization, thank you, but a local university in the same city, as well as a food manufacturer where our board members are part of those organizations. So bad for those organizations, but good for us that really helped us put some strong cyber resilience program in place. So we got approval from the board. That's what I mentioned is, that comes as key. So it's a multi-year, multi-million-dollar program that we got approved and funding for. And so to your point, we had backup. I think everybody has backup, but as Luis mentioned, that takes hours or days to restore your data. And if you do get attacked, as we all hear, that backup is the first thing that the attackers target, right? I mean, they're not going to get their money if you're able to recover from a backup. So one of the first things we did implement was Zerto and the Cyber Resilience Vault. But it goes beyond that, and it goes multiple years. So we've, as part of the program, it includes training for staff. We've gone through and executed tabletop exercises. So not only for the executive team to know, back to business continuity planning, who's calling who when, what does that communication process look like, but also technical tabletops. So have the IT teams in the room and walk through an exercise. So we also use Arctic Wolf for MDR. So I think you kind of alluded to it before that, you need to have all areas covered, and there's not just one solution that will make you cyber resilient. So we still have lots to go and lots to improve upon, but we're well down the journey of making our organization more secure than it has been in the past. So.
It's great to hear of the significant progress that you're making. And one of the ingredients that you did touch on is the HP Cyber Resilience Vault. This being our isolated and air-gapped both cyber vault as well as isolated recovery environment. What's some of the value that the Cyber Resilience Vault provides to yourself, your organization, WCLC overall?
Yeah, so definitely we've implemented Zerto and the Cyber Resilience Vault both at the same time, which has been great for us. We finished that implementation in September, but really what the end result or what it's helped with, knowing that we now have our critical workloads, so our critical VMs, being backed up into an isolated, true air-gapped vault that is immutable. So that's definitely helped me sleep at night, because as we always said, it's not if, it's when you get attacked. So knowing that we have all of our data in the vault, and as data is being backed up from the Zerto recovery zone into or from your production into the data recovery zone, it's being scanned for ransomware as well. So you have a clean copy of the data in the vault.
Fantastic. Now, one of the realities is there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution in this space, and that's one of the attributes of the HP Cyber Resilience Vault, is it is a professional services-led implementation, and that's to enable it to be customized to an organization's unique context, as has been the case with WCLC. What's some of your experience with that professional services implementation? What went well? Is there anything you would feedback to us on that we should do a little bit differently?
Yeah, so we've used the professional services to first, on the start, like pre-sales even, had really good discussions with the team on learning to make sure this was the right product. We did evaluate numbers, just a number of different products. Again, you just can't rely on one. And we started early on, and one of the challenges that I know we certainly have, I don't know how everybody's application dependency mapping, if that's very clear and everybody's got that mapped out. I know that was definitely a struggle for us. It was in people's heads, it was in spreadsheets, in some tools. So we started early and we got HP Professional Services to help install Cloud Physics. And Cloud Physics is, you have to ask the HP. I think it's free, depending on what you have with HPE and HPE GreenLake. It was free for us. So when we installed that, that really gave us visibility and helped us verify that our application dependency mappings were correct, update a few things. It also then helped us size to make sure we were ordering the vault and the recovery zone appropriately sized for our workloads and what we're going to back up. Through to then giving the hardware delivered, installed, and setting it up. It was done actually one of the quickest IT projects that we've done this year, so much so that our CIO asked me to speak at our executive table to see, why did it get done on time and so quickly? And the simple answer was the HP professional services that we had were exceptional. Nothing goes 100%. We did have one little bump. We do 7-year retention of our main gaming system, and it's only about 120 terabytes, so not overly big, but it wouldn't get backed up into the vault. So after a few days of troubleshooting, turned out that HP found an issue within our network that we resolved, and then all that data got backed up, and yeah, it's been running ever since September. So.
Fantastic. One of the key points I'd certainly take away from what you said, Adam, is while Cyber Resilience Vault is a services-led product offering, because it is services-led, it also gives you the ability to identify ancillary elements that ultimately make a profound difference in the implementation, whether it be working through application dependencies or other consequences across your broader estate, your broader environment as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that application dependency mapping was excellent because, if you think of when you actually do get attacked, you can't stand up just say the web server and the database if you don't have your middleware all in there. So when you're implementing Zerto, you call virtual protection groups. So you put your workloads and all that dependency in a protection group so that when you restore that group, all of the workloads that application needs to run are included. The other nice part is in the recovery room, we've done tests where you recover just to do the test to make sure everything does come up in a separate, isolated environment and network. So to have those application dependency mappings and to be able to know that we spin that up and test, that was one of the other benefits. I mean, the clean room, to be able to stand up in the clean room and not have to have, idle infrastructure if you're attacked to recover to. You can recover directly into the clean room and you have clean data.
Fantastic. Well, Adam, I want to thank you again for making the trek out here. Fantastic to have you come across from Canada. I really appreciate you taking the time to share some of your experiences, some of your thoughts with the audience here.
Great, yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much. So as Adam mentioned, there's several ingredients that come together, one of which Adam also touched on, is HP Zerto software. So just as a little bit more on that, HP Zerto software is continuous data protection for virtualized and cloud workloads. It's fundamentally designed to reduce data loss and downtime with ultra-low recovery point objectives and recovery time objectives. It does so through a very granular journaling mechanism and built-in automation for the complete workflow associated with failover, failback, and very importantly, test. And one of the key benefits of that is provable recoverability in a non-disruptive fashion. And thus, even for customers who have fairly stringent provable recoverability requirements, we find many go beyond the minimum just for their own comfort, because it is non-disruptive, it is so easy. That peace of mind from being able to validate recoverability on a frequent basis is invaluable. At the same time, we build additional capabilities into Zerto software, such as real-time ransomware detection. It's not a silver bullet, but every piece helps. And one of the elements it helps with is being able to mitigate attacks faster and more effectively through that additional layer of detection and protection. And on that protection note, it's got a significant security foundation, and this is one of the reasons why Zerto software is deployed in high security environments as well. Capabilities such or dimensions such as FIPS compliant encryption, CISA attestation, which is all about how we HP actually develop and release the software in a cyber secure way, a security technology implementation guide, as is required by some 3-letter agencies in the likes of the US, as well as, for example, support for the syslog format, such that Zerto logs can be seamlessly exported to the likes of SIEM tools as part of a broader full-stack environment. And in addition to that, a framework to enable easier off-the-shelf integration with third-party XDR, SIEM toolsets and so on, for which CrowdStrike Falcon a number of months ago was our exclusive launch partner that we'll now be building out from there. And when we talk about virtualized workloads, we're not talking just a VMware context, albeit VMware is the largest. It is very much a multi-platform technology supporting, in addition to VMware, Hyper-V, AWS, Azure, and just announced here at HPE Discover as well, HPE Morpheus Enterprise and VM Essentials software. And you'll see more to come from us in this regard over time, such that we're not only providing you with protection, but investment protection and portability as your platform strategy evolves. At the end of the day, though, it requires more than one or two products. It requires a holistic approach, as Luis mentioned, and we take that to heart from a product portfolio perspective too. We absolutely believe in a multi-layered approach with tight integration between those layers, both HPE and third party. That this needs to start at the source from a storage perspective. What we mean by the source is where production workloads run, where production data resides. It needs to extend up the stack, not just from the base infrastructure into the actual workloads themselves, and thus the role of Zerto software. It needs to extend further into the higher level environment, and thus we provide integration mechanisms, not just, as I mentioned, for Zerto, but for some of our storage infrastructure products too, into those XDR and SIEM tool sets. It needs to extend out to the target storage environment. By target storage, we mean where data and workloads are backed up to, and even more important than being able to back up is to be able to recover from. Because at the end of the day, a backup is worthless if one cannot safely recover. Whether that be platforms such as HPE Store Once, our Alletra Storage MP-X10000, or even perennial HPE storage tape, which remains a mainstay for organizations looking for the most economic and air-gapped solution. You can't get more air-gapped than physically taking a tape cartridge out of a library and putting it into safe storage. And of course, as Adam mentioned, the isolated vault and safe isolated recovery environment that's provided by the HPE Cyber Resilience Vault. Fundamentally, as we think across this multi-layered portfolio, what we're ensuring, what we drive to, is that it's cyber secure across the data path. I mentioned the importance of starting where data is created at the source and extending out to the target. The same philosophy that applies in a cyber secure data path context. So at the source we have capabilities, and these are just the highest level ones, like robust access controls, things like comprehensive encryption, like policy-based protection to make it easy to automate and attain SLAs. It extends out across to the target environment, as we've discussed, such as immutable and air-gapped infrastructure. Once again, automated capabilities around backup and recovery, and the enablement of ultra-low RPOs and RTOs. But ultimately, cyber resilience demands more, and that's why, not just in Zerto software, but in other products like our structured data storage with Alletra Storage MP B10000, we have built-in threat detection and analytics. Fundamentally, the goal there is to inform response and recovery for a speedier, safer outcome than is otherwise the case. And all of that part of a broader, holistic strategy from HPE to deliver holistic protection that spans from edge to cloud and source to target, effectively being able to protect any workload, whether it be on-premise, whether it be SaaS, whether it be the new styles that Luis was talking about, like AI and analytics pipeline-based workloads, and to be able to support them no matter where they run, no matter what the SLA demand is for it. And really address the expansive threats that exist, from being able to plan for bad actors, be able to plan for disasters and do so simultaneously, be able to automate protection to help mitigate human error, be able to mitigate infrastructure failures regardless of the type, and in the real world meet the inevitable constraints that we face around limited budgets, around limited resources too. A key point that I'd want you to take away, though, is while there's a lot we do and deliver from a technology perspective, it's only as good as how you use it. And thus, if you're already a user of HPE technologies in this space, I encourage you to ensure that you're actually taking full advantage of those capabilities to ensure that you have the most resilient outcome that is possible. And fundamentally, keep resilience and recovery and leverage of expertise that we HPE and our strategic partners can bring to bear to help ensure your success, since unfortunately in this world, we need to assume an attack will happen, that we won't, our customers won't be able to prevent its penetration. We ultimately need to plan for the worst case of needing to recover safely, recover expeditiously, and that's a key area that we can help you with. Luis, do you want to bring us home to the close? Thank you.
Well, just summarizing the session, I think that key messages. Cyber resilience is holistic. That's very important. Remember, lack of cyber resilience is extremely expensive. It's important to work on prevention and also in the protection mechanisms, and always with involving the executive, the business of the company. It's not only IT problem. Then we had a very good example of an experience of Adam and Western Canada Lotteries with Cyber Resilience Vault. And then also Stephen explained our Certo and also all the storage value proposition, especially this integrated multi-layer approach. So I think that in HP we have an end-to-end value proposition, technology and services that we can really boost your cyber resilience. I'm very happy to keep collaboration with all of you. As a next step, as we are just at the end of Discover, we are showing you two elements that you can follow up. On the left, you read the QR, you can read more and learn more around HP Cyber Resilience Vault. And on the right, you can also take a look around our SPE Cyber Resilience Readiness Assessment. Remember, it's a tabletop exercise where we implement a real case, a real attack scenario, and we test your current plans. And of course, please provide us any feedback around this session. We are always learning, and also we're improving for future Discover events. Thank you for attending, and thank you for being here in Barcelona.